Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. You can find us on Twitter at alwayspressdfs. We're going to preview the WGC HSBC Championship and dabble a little into the Sanderson Farms as well. Cover all your DraftKings needs. Joining me this week, as always, is Jesse. You can find him on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing?
Doing well, man. Good to be here again. We got a cut event back this week, so pretty excited about that. How are you?
I am doing well. It's Monday and, getting back in the groove of everything, but it's good. As a baseball guy, I'm really happy, but as a golf guy, we get two golf events to talk about, so that's always good as well. So, and I need something else to tilt on after NFL yesterday, so this is good.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, Bucks is gone this week as he is coming back from vacation with his family. He'll be rejoining us next week, so that is why we'll be having no Bucks on the podcast this week, but he will be back. A little bit about last week's tournament. We were kind of just briefly talking about how just bizarre that was with the weather coming into play and everything and the scores all over the board. What was your takes on last week's tournament?
Yeah, I think the golf course played a lot more difficult than I anticipated, especially after the first day. So Justin Thomas shoots 63 the first day and is leader in the clubhouse. It's a par 72, so he's 9 under after one round, and I just kind of fully expected it to be another shootout, 20 under type of deal. But like you said, I guess the wind blew in, and we were also talking about how neither one of us watched a stroke of golf because it was on at weird times. We were both doing stuff this weekend. Didn't have time to watch it, but there was a lot of 80s, a lot of 80s. I mean, when I was looking, I guess it was Thursday night here in the States, so it'd be like Friday night over there, whatever, Friday or whenever they were playing. And I was just watching Xander just fire like triples and doubles, and he shot 82, and it just blew my mind. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I guess the wind. That's the only thing I can chalk it up to.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Like you said, Xander was one that stood out to me. But like after the first round, all my guys were under par. I had like 3 guys in the top 5. Everything looked beautiful. And then as I'm checking DK throughout the weekend, they'd like some would start out good, some wouldn't, and then they'd flip it over. Like I checked 2 hours later, and now they went from -2 on the day to +5, and it was just like all over the board and bizarre as bizarre can be. And some of the guys that actually hung around are guys you wouldn't expect to hang around besides like Justin and some of the regulars. But it was a bizarre tournament. I know I saw some people, and we heard it coming into the week that it's kind of like an Augusta feel. And people said it was playing just like that once the weather cooked up. It was difficult, very difficult.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's a really weird leaderboard. I mean, you mentioned Scott Brown last week because he was like 6,900, I think. And he had to be close to the lead going into Sunday.
He was tied for the lead.
Was he tied for the lead? He shot 4 over on Sunday or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, if Scott Brown's up there and then other guys like, Wee Kim, I don't know where that came from. I mean, but then obviously two of the best golfers in the world, Justin Thomas, Mark Leishman. Even Jason Day was and Patrick Reed right there, almost top 10. So, yeah, just an odd week. But, I mean, that's what happens whenever you have a no-cut event with a brand-new golf course. It is extremely hard to predict. I mean, obviously, Justin Thomas winning, not surprising at all whatsoever. But, I mean, if you throw out the last-place guy, which is some guy's name, I'll just pronounce his last name. It's Lee. He's an amateur, I guess. He shoots 37 over, so we'll just throw him out. But Grayson Murray, PGA Tour champion, fires 25 over for the week and loses to Justin Thomas by 34 shots. Pretty insane.
Oh, yeah. Xander alone was enough for me to realize that was just insane. It was just bizarre.
You had a good start, man. You started in 82, 78, 76. Like, oh, God.
But then again, you had guys like Pat Perez still played well, and Ches Reapy, like a guy that's just consistent but actually finished well. But he was 7 under going into the last day, I believe. Like there was a lot of the Golden Cherub, Cam Smith was rolling. There was a lot of interesting plays, and I will mention your boy PC even though he didn't light the billboard on fire, still put a very, very good round together in those conditions. So
yeah, I mean, he was 74 on Sunday, but other than that, I mean, he was right there pretty close to the leader. And then, of course, Lucas Glover, who we mentioned last week, and I was all over, but it didn't matter because I didn't have anybody else up top. So DK wise,
and Glover's a guy I want to talk about a little later because he's just at a model of consistency right now. It's pretty impressive how well he's playing.
I agree.
Let's get into this WGC HSBC Championship. It's in Shanghai, China at the Xishan International Golf Club, and it won't be the first time or the last time I mispronounced something on this podcast. But give us some past history in this event, as it's definitely a star-studded field.
Yeah, I mean, it's originally until 2013, it was just a Euro Tour event, and then they brought in the World Golf Championship or whatever, so it becomes more of a worldwide event where PGA Tour pros play over there. So in 2013, when it became an official PGA Tour event as well, Dustin Johnson won at 24 under. Bubba Watson won the next year at 11 under, which is kind of a weird score comparatively speaking. Russell Knox was the 2015 winner at 20 under, and last year Hideki won at 23 under. And he actually won by 7 shots over Berger and Stinson, so he kind of ran away with it. But this was kind of the beginning last year of the Hideki run, so to speak. So yeah, it's a birdie fest. Basically that's pretty much the last 4 events that really matter. There's obviously events before that, but it was more of a European Tour event at the time.
Yeah, it's one of those courses, par 72, a little under 7,300 yards. They said there's 4 par 5s. Like you said, birdie fest. The average, or most of the time, the score has been between 16 under and 21 under, the winning score. But it's weird. Everything I read and looked at, you need to be very accurate and stay in the fairways because 11 of the holes have water on them, so they will destroy you if you're spraying stuff. But at the same time, they said if you're drilling it down pretty well, you can eagle the snot out of this course. So yeah. It's kind of a
one thing. Last year, let me interrupt you there. Last year, Hideki was 9 under on the par 5s.
Yeah, that's why that's guys like we'll talk about like Rahm and DJ and some of those Kopka. If they're hitting it straight, they could go way low this week. At the same time, it could be disgusting. So yeah, water on 11 of the holes. Like I said, accuracy, bent grass greens is what you're looking at. It's a beautiful course, like really, really good course. The greens a little faster than average, 12 to 12.5 on the stimp is what I was reading. And weather-wise, it's going to be cold, similar to last week, but they're not supposed to have the winds. So I don't think it'll affect them that much. But I guess like moisture stays in the air around there from past tournaments. And they said even PC was quoted as saying it's so much moisture in the air, the course plays longer than it should based on that because it knocks everything down. So things to think about. That's why you were saying Hideki won one year, and then Berger's contended. He's not really considered much of a bomber. My boy Molinari's done very well here. He's not a bomber. So it's kind of a pick your poison. Do you want to play it safe? Do you want to go long? A lot to think about at this course. Did you have anything else on the course at all?
No. I was just looking kind of at Hideki's stats last year. He had about 75% of the greens en route to his win. And interestingly enough, he only hit about 55% of the fairways. So obviously, like you said, water is a big key, but you can go a little bit off track there. And I mean, if you're not necessarily hitting the fairways, it's not the end of the world. And then, just going back to the birdie fest opportunities too, the fact that we're pretty much going to get to 20 under at least, I would say. So.
Yeah, and another thing they said, like you just said, if you're a bomber, it's not going to kill you. Like obviously, to stay out of the water because you'll get a lot more eagle chances. So as a bogey later doesn't kill you the same way. So there's a lot to like about that, which we basically had to say every week since this new tour started because we don't have cuts.
All right.
What are the key stats you're looking at?
So for me, I'm going to weight greens and regulation pretty heavily. Driving distance is also up there. And then I'm throwing a little bit more of the birdie and eagle scores. So basically I'm going to weight, if you make birdies or eagles more often. So birdie or better, I guess, would be the best way to put it. And then just guys who make eagles. I mean, it's, that kind of the eagle score to me tells the par 5 story, because that's where you're getting most of your eagles, obviously. And, like I said, Hideki last year, -9 on the par 5s, pretty impressive en route to his, 24 under or whatever, 23 under. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep looking like I usually do, accuracy, greens and regulations, but I definitely want to kind of push up the bombers a little more, like you're saying, because I want those eagles.
Yeah.
And more important, like I said the last few weeks, it's kind of what I have to go off of based on this goofy schedule these guys are on. I'm going to do a lot of current form. That's just what I'm going to keep going with. I was reading up on something, Dustin Johnson, so he's played here 3 times. And he's played really, really well twice, but the one time he didn't, it's because he wasn't over in Asia prior to the event. The other 2 events, if he wasn't playing, he was at least practicing a week prior to in Asia somewhere. This year he wasn't. And the only time he did that, he finished like 30-something.
35th.
So,
yeah.
So there's a lot to be said about guys. Even if it's the guys on the Euro Tour playing in Europe, that's fine. They just need to be rolling is basically what I'm saying. They got to be playing. With that being said, we have a little bit of difference in this pricing for once, but most of it's the same in the structure. 10K and above, Jesse. We have DJ, Matsuyama, Rose, Day, and Rahm. Very interesting fives from here. I want to see what you have in store.
Yeah, like you said, DJ, 35th last year, and then before that 5th, and then 2013 first. So that's kind of odd course history as far as that goes. His recent form is, for DJ standards, is not the best. In order to pay off this price, he's got a top 5. Can he do that? Obviously he can, but I'm probably going to bet that he won't, and almost completely fade him, if not, completely fade him. Hideki is interesting because he won last year, obviously, so I'm not real sure what he's been up to the last couple weeks. He does have even more strange course history. So he did play the CIMB Classic a couple weeks ago, finished 5th, which is nice. That's a solid finish. But his course history here is 1st, withdrew, 41st, withdrew. But what that means, I don't know. I think he is interesting because he does oftentimes not garner the attention that, say, DJ would, or Jason Day will, or John Rahm will. Justin Rose is about my favorite play of the week. He's top of my model. Like you said, I'm waiting more recent form a lot more than long-term form because it's just more important. A lot of these guys have had significant layoffs. When I say significant, at least a couple weeks. Rose hasn't played since the Tour Championship, but he was coming into form there toward the end. He was really doing well as far as finishing better and better, and 4 straight top 10s with a second at the FedEx Cup playoffs. So I'll have plenty of him. John Rahm would be the next guy that I will have some of. He's never played here, but we know he tears up par 5s. He can bomb it, very accurate. Love his game. I'll probably not have very much of Jason Day, if any at all. It's not there. He did finish 11th last week, but I don't know. I can't get behind it at this point. There's something about him. I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't know how to put my finger on him. Just not there.
Well, this will be boring because I have basically the same sentiments you have. The only two guys I'm looking at up here are Rose and Rahm, and it's exactly why with Rose, what you're saying, he's accurate, he's consistent, and he's found his form.
Yeah.
And I know I just said about DJ, I want guys that are playing, and I do for the most parts, and you'll definitely see that the farther down we get. But it's with Rose, at least he wasn't staying in the U.S. He was probably at least, I've seen pictures of him in England and stuff doing stuff. So he's at least out there doing things. But just that accuracy is going to be huge to me. And then John Rahm has been dialed in. I know he just missed the cut in his last event, but we were talking off the podcast last week at the end about how long a year a lot of these guys have had. And, him missing the cut isn't the worst thing he can do.
No.
It really isn't. because give him a little break because he's been playing almost every single week. He crushed the Italian. He's been playing in Europe. He wants that race for Dubai. For people that don't understand, they get points for that here at the WGC. So this is a big event for him. I think he'll be popular in this range, but Rose and Rahm are the two I'd go for. Other than that, I'll have them in a lineup or two, but I really want to stay out of the 5 digits for the most part. There's so much value in the 8s and 9s. I can build a lot of things I like down here.
Yeah, and those are probably be 2 of the most popular plays up top, if I'm guessing too. So I mean, if you do fade them, if you do fade the 5-digit range and kind of go more balanced, you can definitely get a different lineup than somebody else may have.
Yeah, and the thing with this event, it's some of the best of the best. So you wouldn't be shocked if someone in the 8s or the 9s even took this thing. So it's not going to kill you as much as other tournaments. Let's dig into the 9Ks, Jesse. You got Leishman coming off that playoff loss to JT, Brooks, Stenson, PC, Fitzpatrick, and Pat Perez, flat bill. So a very interesting 9K range. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, one of the questions we got as I tweeted that we were going to start this was from at 3 putt par Mike. Yeah, 3 putt par Mike. Stenson Chalk Week. And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. I've already seen his name floated out a few times, and at 9,600, I think he's going to be really, really popular. His course history is pretty ridiculous. 2nd, 11th, 24th, 31st, 13th, 40th, 5th. So he's played this golf course every year for the last, almost for the last 8 years. He's skipped 11 and 12, but he was playing it heavily whenever it was just strictly a Euro Tour event. So really good course history. Never won, but did finish last year, or did finish 2nd here last year, excuse me. And then also coming in off of, his recent form isn't that great, but Stenson's just one of those guys who's always going to be popular. I don't know how much of him I'll have, just because I would rather, to be honest with you, go with Paul Casey. That might surprise you. You might not.
Well, you're getting a heck of a discount from like the recent tournaments. I think it's a steal right now.
Yeah, and 9,400 Paul Casey. He's not been lighting the world on fire, but he has been playing consistent golf. 19th, 7th, 5th in his last 3, and then his course history is also pretty good. He's similar to Stenson in that he's played this golf course a lot. 12th, 23rd, 20th in the last 3 he's been here. He also had 2 top 5s before that. So I'd rather have Casey. I also would rather take a look potentially at Brooks. He did play here last year, finished 40th, but toward the end of the FedEx Cup playoffs there, he was starting to come on. So I think he's an interesting play at 9,700. And then I don't know. I really can't. It's hard for me to stomach Leishman at 99. I know he finished 2nd last week. He has an 11th here and a 9th in the last 2 years. I don't know. He tends to let down after he's hard to pin down for me because he's not super consistent and not as consistent as I want somebody at 9,900. Fitzpatrick I'll have none of. And then your boy Perez, 9,100. I'll let you talk about it.
I 100% agree with Casey. I love the price tag. We've been paying 5 digits for him, I think, the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's played well in China in the past. Obviously not at this course, but has played well. So I don't mind him at all. I totally get the Stenson part, but in a field like this, I'm not going to completely ignore chalk, but I don't think I want that chalk, if that makes sense to anybody listening. Him with his 3-wood on a course where you have to be precise, he could tear this place apart. He really could. And that's one thing that makes me really debate having Stenson. But if I can get Casey for 200 cheaper, and I don't mind Leishman just for the fact, if we are going current form, he has been ridiculous. Like we said, lost the playoff last week, T24 at the tour, but then a 1st and a 3rd, playing very, very well. He did miss the cut at the Northern Trust, but even prior to that, he was top 15 or at least top 20 in almost everything. He's playing really, really well. I know at 9,900, we probably want a top 10 at worst, if not a top 5. So you got to think about that, but I don't mind him at 9,900. And then Pat Perez, if you want consistency at 91, That's another guy we've been paying up for lately, and this field brings him down. Even in the bad conditions last week, he finished tied for 5th. He's top 16, I'll say, in the last 4 events, playing or 5 events, playing really, really well. So I don't mind Pat at all at 9,100. Seems to be really liking this Asian side of things. Fitzpatrick, that makes me – it's interesting that you mentioned you don't like Fitzpatrick, because he is another guy that's tearing the European Tour apart right now. Top 15, top 11, first. But I know his consistencies can be very, very frustrating. But he's been a birdie machine the last month. So that one surprised me that you're saying that.
Yeah, well, he does have. I mean, he does have some pretty decent form coming in. It's just, I don't know. I guess I would pay that all day on a strictly European Tour event. But then, I mean, at the PGA Championship, it was 7,400. Bridgestone, he was 7,000. British Open, he was 74. So it's just, I don't know. It's just hard for me to stomach that price. And maybe that's what's throwing me off. But I mean, he does have some good form coming in for sure. And he does a 16th and a 7th here the last 2 years. So maybe you just talk me into some.
Well, I just think, I know you and I have said this many times. In events like this, the Euro guys get so overlooked.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think a guy like Fitzpatrick, and there's a few more coming up, I think we could, if they play well, obviously it's a big if. Golf is just insane every week. But if he can play well, the ownership-wise should help us a ton.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my only thought.
Of those guys in the 9,000 range, he should probably be the lowest owned. Yeah, I think you're right. So, I mean, that would make him a good tournament play.
That's kind of the angle I was looking at, because, as we've said also, a lot of guys could win this tournament with this field. So right. I'm looking at that angle there. But if I have to just pick one or two, Casey and Pat would probably be my top 2, with Leishman after that. Let's go into the 8K range. You got about 10 to 12 guys here. Some very interesting names as well. You going back to Xander?
Yeah, this range is pretty loaded in my opinion. Few guys, I do like going back to Xander. I think he will be overlooked in this field. And he was 22% owned last week and played just played awful. I mean, let's just be honest. 72nd. But before that, he was 3rd, 1st, 20th. I mean, he's got really good form minus those events. Obviously, the course maybe just didn't fit his eye. He's never played here. It's the only thing that's kind of sketched for me on him. But I will go back to him. I was actually going to say that before you asked me about that. So, yes, very good call. I also like Tommy Fleetwood. I will pay $8,600 for Tommy Fleetwood all day. Course history is okay, 30th, 24th, 18th. But he's coming off a 6th at the Italian Open and a 25th at the Alfred Dunhill before a miscut there, or after a miscut at the European Masters. So I'll pay that for Tommy Fleetwood all day. I like that. And then Tyrrell Hatton, I mean, you can't ignore this guy. He has 2 straight wins on the European Tour. And before that, he was 8th and 3rd. And this is a guy who we talked about a lot last year, especially going into Masters. And he just played like complete – I mean, he's awful through August. He takes a month off. He comes back at the European Masters 3rd, 8th, 1st, and 1st, lighting the world on fire. I highly recommend getting a little exposure to him. He probably will be semi-popular, but, I mean, one of those things where how do you fade the guy who's hot in golf? I mean, that's a big factor to me is, obviously recent form. Are you hot? He's got the swag coming in. Got to be feeling good about himself. Another interesting guy at 8,400 is Ross Fisher. He's got a 6th here last year, a 3rd the year before, and 2 straight second-place finishes to Tyrrell Hatton. He's $200 more than Tyrell. I would rather have Tyrell Hatton over Ross Fisher, but Ross Fisher is going to be less owned than Tyrell Hatton will be most likely. So those would be the 4 for me. Xander, Tommy. Oh, Patrick Cantlay too. He's got some. I think he'll be semi-popular. He hasn't played since the Tour Championship, dealing with some kind of injury. But I mean, the dude, all he does is, get top 20s basically. I mean, he just plays super consistent golf. So, I mean, this field is loaded. You could, in my opinion, you could really just do take most of these guys in this range and kind of throw in some fillers or whatever. But like if you go Cantlay, Xander, Tommy, Fisher, and Hatton, let's see, what does that leave you? That still leaves you 7,200.
Yeah, I don't hate it. What I was going to say is I could literally just make my field out of this 8,000 range. Yeah. We always talk about leaving money on the table or being different. These are some phenomenal golfers right here. Xander, I love the fact that there's too many people that play that recency bias. Like, I understand they keep saying recent form, but there's a difference in recent form and one bad week.
Right.
There's two completely different things. And we just talked about how bad the weather was and everything. So let's just take that one with a grain of salt for a minute. This guy was phenomenal. So I have no problem with that. Fleetwood, I believe he's leading the race for Dubai right now, or he's pretty close. So if he's talked about how much he wants to win that, a big finish here would be huge for Tommy Fleetwood, and he's locked in. Fisher and Hatton, absolutely love them. Like you mentioned, they're basically the two hottest guys on the Europe Tour the last few weeks, so It's hard to completely ignore them. And then Berger's had decent success here. I know he kind of let guys down last week, but I'm going to keep saying that weather really messed guys up. Berger started out with a 70. He was 2 under, and then it just unloaded on him. It was just ridiculous. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. But also, I love RCB. He is playing really, really well right now, and he's one of those guys that if he's hitting it right could get us those Eagles we're looking at. He basically has 3 top 20s in his last 4 events. Tied for 11th, tied for 10th his last 2 over here in Asia, playing really, really well. And I know you hate it, but my boy Molly at 8K, I don't hate him at all. He just came off a tied for 6th, the Italian, a tied for 12 at the BMW. He's got really good his course. He fits the accuracy thing. I know he's not the bomber type, but if you want to go with some bombers, then mix in some safer, quote-unquote, safer guys, Molly, to me, at 8,000 is phenomenal. I love that play. I will probably always love Molly, and you will always laugh at me. But I know it's a putter thing with him. But I love him at 8,000.
I mean, that one time that we played that head-to-head and you beat me was because Molinari made the cut on the number. So he's like forever in your heart. I get it. No, I get it. I understand. But
hey, he has as many wins as PC.
Yeah, he does. It's true. I mean, they're about the same golfer, except for they really are so similar. Yeah, but I agree. I mean, Molinari has a win here in 2010, so in a 6th last year, he's got the course history. I mean, I don't hate that play at 8,000. I mean, I probably won't do it, but I wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't tell you not to.
But it just brings back the point that you could easily make a good 4 or 5 of your golfers right out of this range without a question and be just fine with things.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's go to the loaded 7K range where there's a good chunk here too. What do you got in the 7K range?
Yeah, so I mean, I think again there's about 1,500,000 golfers in this range here. So it's kind of strange, some of these names, but especially when you get down towards the bottom. But one way or the other, I'm on Lucas Glover again, 11th last week. He's got a 20th here in his lone appearance in 2011. He actually played the Sanderson Farms last year, so that tells you kind of the trajectory of his golf game overall. It's on the way up. Actually, he finished 15th last week, sorry. But a 7th before that, 30th, 12th. You know, just he's got really consistent game, and he's just I don't know. Like I just enjoy playing him in these types of tournaments because he'll go pretty well low owned. He'll be overlooked, especially with the guys around him. You got Tony Finau, same price. He's interesting. He does have some decent form coming in. He has never played here though, so it'll be interesting to see if he can come through. Kuchar at 7,700, pretty ridiculous price on him. I'll try to fit him in a few because I said 7,700. I mean, he's got a 21st and a 19th here in 2 appearances, and he's coming off a 10th and a 5th, so pretty good form overall. My dude, Kiradek, Happy Barnrot. See, he's kind of like my Molinari, so he's like my kryptonite. Anytime he's in the field, I have to play him. Not great course history, but he's in the race for Dubai, and he's like trying to. I think he was last time I saw he was kind of borderline trying to get in, coming off a 2nd at the Italian Open. So I love Kiradek. and the swag that he brings. Looking on down the list here, there's a few more. Bernd Wiesberger, 7,300, pretty low price on him. Euro Tour guy, but super consistent. 35th, 17th, last 2 years. Recently, he's been kind of but in a no-cut event, he could be a guy that goes super low at some point. Looking on down, I'll go back and have a little bit of Gavin Green again this week. We talked about him the last 2 weeks in a row, and he's not really come through yet. I thought he was going to break through last week when he started with a 66, and then he fires 82 in the second round. And I think he beat Xander, but either way, they were right next to each other. Another guy like down here that for some reason is popping on my model, and I don't know who this guy is, but his name is Shugo Imahira, Japanese tour player, 9th, 4th, 2nd, 5th on the Japan tour in the last 4 weeks. So interesting. His stats obviously are doing something on Wall Hill because he's kind of high, and I'm kind of freaked out about it. But yeah, I mean, there's so many names here, man. I mean, like this is where we talk about it every week. This is where you differentiate your lineup. You go down here and you grab somebody who's probably going to be low owned, and that's the difference.
Yeah, this is where if you want to play Chalk Stinson, you get crazy down here. This is what you do, because. And in my opinion, stay away from Adam Scott. Everyone's going to play Adam Scott because he's $7,900. Just wait, I don't want any.
Not $7,900. Oh yeah,
Adam Scott's $7,900. Everyone's going to play him. That's going to be like everyone's auto play.
Well, I'm not going to play him, so he'll probably win.
Yeah, I'm not going to play him either. So yeah, we'll probably be crying next week. But I loved Lucas Glover. We were talking about him earlier. $7,800. Lock him in, and then Kuchar at 77. When I saw these prices, I thought it was a misprint.
Yeah,
because I know he's not a big time winner. He doesn't finish, but he also top 20s everything, and he's accurate. He's consistent. If this was a cut event, this would be the easiest play on the board. Like seriously, the easiest play on the board. But it's not. It's not. So that's kind of what worries you a little bit because you do have to go low. But we said that before, and he keeps doing it though. Like 15 under at the BMW. Even 6 under at the Tour Championship was good for that tournament. The tournaments he has to fire low, he can.
Right.
So he's shown he can do that. And that's where I've kind of lost my bias on that, which was true for a long time. So Kuchar at 77, when everyone's going to play Finau, which I get, but Kuchar, that might help his ownership a ton. Him and Glover. It's going to be huge.
Yep.
I don't mind Peter Uihlein coming back at 7,600. He does play really well in Asia when he's on the Euro Tour. So that's an interesting play, but he'll probably be a little chalkier than I like. I will go back to my boy Ches Reavie at $7,500. He's nothing flashy. He's like a Molinari to me, but he scores, and he's played really well over here in Asia. Top 20 in 4 straight events going back to the BMW. So he's scoring just fine. No problem with Ches. He had a bad Sunday also because he was in contention going into the weekend. So I don't mind him at all. Kyle Stanley, when you talk about accuracy and greens and regulation, this is a guy you look at. He's $7,500. T19, T21, T20 his last 3 events.
Yep.
Playing just fine. Again, he had a bad Saturday and Sunday last week, and otherwise he was 5 under going into the weekend. He was just fine. Nothing wrong with Stanley at all at 7,500. I love Alphabet, but I wanted to leave him for you, so I totally understand that. He's one of those guys that even if you're losing with him, he's fun to root for because he's awesome. He's like the Beef Johnson that we wish we could have.
Yeah,
he's just awesome. But there's a couple others if you want to get real weird, like if you want to differentiate a lot. I'm going to mention Scott Hendigan. I know he burned us 2 weeks ago, but that's what we said going into it. That's what he does. He's either going to light the world on fire or he's going to burn you. So in an event like this, he makes for an interesting play at 7,400. He'll be extremely low owned in my opinion because so many people are going to be mad. They're going to see the T72 at the CIMB, then back-to-back missed cuts, but then you forget he got second at the European Masters. It's what he does. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
So if you want to gamble, I don't mind him at 7,400. And then a couple others down here that I was briefly looking at earlier, and I want to dig in some more, and you might know a little more on them as well, but like Thorburn Olsen at 7,300. Nothing fancy. T32, a miscut, T34, T14. But what I did notice, he scores a lot. He's got big-time eagle potential.
Yeah.
So this guy's 73, could be a nice low-owned, cheap play. And then the other one, there's probably others, but I'm not going to mention everybody, is David Lipsky. Plays a lot on the Euro Tour, pretty much plays exclusively on the Euro Tour. But I got T21 at the CIMB, shot 10 under. And he was basically top 30 in most things in Europe, getting you 15 or more birdies in almost every round for like the last month. He was in a funk earlier in the year, back in June and July, but he's kind of broken back out of that because before June and July he was playing really, really well. Maybe it's a new change of pace for Lipsky, but at 7,100 could be a guy to help with some value there. Last but not least, let's dig into our 6K range. There's only a couple names I like. Maybe you have some more.
Yeah, I will try to avoid this region again as much as I possibly can. I mean, if you're down here, guys high on my model, Chan Kim. Don't know this guy is another Japanese tour guy, but he's popping on my model decently as far as the 6K range goes here. But other than that, I've already seen. So a lot of guys on Twitter have been on this Poom.
Yep.
Saka Sanson cat. He finished 44th at the CIMB Classic a couple weeks ago. And you get him for bare minimum price here. So, I mean, some guys like him. A lot of guys that I respect were on him. So, that would be the two that I'm looking at down here. Other than that, I just don't want to be here.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm trying to avoid this range at all costs, and I think we've already mentioned tons of options. You don't need to, but I do like Poom. I was on him a couple weeks ago. Not flashy, but he knows the area. He knows the courses. I like that a lot. And then the other guy, another local, Win Chong Liang. You're going to see his name everywhere. He plays on the Euro Tour and a lot of the Asian Tour. Doesn't light the world on fire, but he has, apparently, from what I read, in non-PGA events, really plays well at this course. And at $6,900, you look at all his past events in China, he's played really, really well. So at $6,900, he's a guy you could look at as well. But again, just try to stay out of here.
I don't want anything to do with it, man. That low.
Yeah, if I'm basically trying to make it sound good, and it's not even easy to do that.
It's not.
All right, let's talk busts. What are some of the busts, or give me one of the busts you're looking at?
I would.
It doesn't have to be high priced, because it's one of those where it could be all over the field.
Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. This is tough because this is a good field. I'm gonna say Mark Leishman. I think he'll be more popular than what he should be, and I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about him, but that's probably what I'll go with. What do you got?
Yeah, outside of Adam Scott, because his form is so bad right now, so bad, unbelievably bad. I'm gonna go with it hurts to say, I'm going Dustin Johnson. He's not playing well, and you're gonna need that top 5, if not a top 3 out of him.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get almost a win for him to pay off. So, yeah,
I'm just not seeing that in him right now. But if anybody could prove me wrong, it's DJ. So
yeah, oh yeah.
Give me a couple punts.
Kiradek at 7,500, I think, is a great punt for this field because we're only getting down to 6,900. This Shugo Imahira guy, I'll have him on one lineup just so I'm not kicking myself in case he top 20s or something along those lines. And then Gavin Green again, man, he got to do it at some point, Gavin. This is the week, man.
Well, heck, he was 6 under after the opening round, so it's like we know he has it.
I look like a genius on Thursday, about like usual, and then an idiot comes Sunday, about like usual.
Next time, screenshot jinx that thing.
Yeah.
If I got to go 75 and below, I like Reeve, Stanley, probably Olsen. Those would be the 3 I'd look at there. Go a couple hundred more. Like I said, Kuchar, just punt all day with Matt Kuchar. Just do it.
Yep.
I will take all the grief in the world if he plays bad. I don't care because I will go to battle with that.
Yeah. Weird that Matt Kuchar's a punt, but I mean, he really is in this field at this price.
Yeah, he is, unfortunately. But man, what a year he had to be all the way down there now. It's crazy. What are a couple of your core players? You're like 3 guys you're going to try to build around.
Rose, Glover, and probably Hatton.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I'm just going to stick around that 8K range. I'm going to look a lot at Hatton, Molinari, and I'll say Kuchar. I'll just say those three will be my core, and then I'll go high and low around them. Those will probably make my three guys: Hatton, Molinari, and Kuchar. Glover, and Molinari they're kind of a 3A, 3B for me. Besides PC winning this, unless PC is the only one you have winning this.
Now I'm going to change it up this week. I'm going to say Justin Rose wins.
I like that because I actually think this might be a time for PC. So this could be fun. this could be fun. I think he's got a great shot this week. I really do. Oh man, this is tough. This field is so ridiculous. I love Rose. That was the first guy I looked at today. Give me. Wow, this is a tough. This, like you said, this field's so loaded. Yeah. I'm gonna go off the board. Give me Ross Fisher.
All right.
Then. I think he breaks through after back-to-back seconds. But man, I could probably. This is the week. I'll say this much: if you do want to gamble on golf, and I'm not condoning it by any stretch of the imagination, but if it is, this is the week to put like $10 down on like 7 or 8 different long shots. Or at least as top 10 finishes or something, you probably do pretty well.
Yeah, if you can get them each way, for sure. I agree with that.
I think I was reading when Dustin won this a few years back, he was 40-1.
Really?
Yeah. So that just goes to show you what to look forward to here.
Yeah.
All right. That is your WGC coverage, and we're going to sprinkle in a little Sanderson Farms for you, taking place in the US of A, and it is a cut event, everybody, a cut event. What do you have for the Sanderson Farms? Maybe a little, do you have any history or anything? Hit us with the knowledge.
Yeah, so it's played at the Country Club of Jackson. And it's just over 7,400 yards at a par 72. The last 4 winners, Cody Gribble, Peter Malnati, Nick Taylor, and Woody Austin. And the scores tend to get to right around at least, in the last 4 years, the worst is 16 under. So 20 under, 18 under, somewhere in that neighborhood. So the birdies will be flying. Like you said, full cut PGA Tour event. The FedEx Cup points are only 300 for a win. There's not a whole lot of names in this, but either way, it is a full cut event. So I think it is good to play cash games like you normally would if it was a normal PGA Tour week. But the names and the prices are super sketchy.
Big time sketchy. Why don't you kick us off? I don't know if we want to go through the whole field real quick or what you want to do, but
yeah, I'll name a few. Like this, above 10K, Jason Kokrak is interesting to me. Kevin Streelman at 9,700 is interesting. Austin Cook 9,300. Bryce Garnett 86. You got anything? Did you have any names? I don't want to go down all the way.
Yeah, no. Like I know the first thing you sent me was Chasen Hadley's 11.5.
Yeah,
and it's ridiculous, but I still kind of like it just because he is a guy that can birdie fest you to death.
He can. I mean, he can shoot about 61 at the safe play.
Yeah, I was on him at the save. That's why I kind of have a soft spot for him, I think. But this tournament, there's so many guys priced high and low that I think should be like flipped. So I really do like Streelman. He was one of my 9K guys at 97. I rode him a lot last year when he was like $6,800. But 97 this week. Burgoon at 98, I don't mind either. He's a nice youngster. If you're going 8K range, Van Aswegen at 8,200. I know I pronounced that wrong. I do like him quite a bit. And Wawrinski at 81 are 2 guys there. And I have a lot more written down on this, but only one other in the 8s I'll mention. Don't sleep on Davis Love III at $8,100. He's actually plays every week we see these small fields. Here comes Davis Love III. And we never talk about him. We always basically just throw shade at him, and he continues to put it together at these events. It's crazy.
He probably tilts me more than anybody else. It's odd that he's in this event, though, because he has full exempt status on the PGA Tour. So why he chose, maybe he's just getting warmed up for something else. I mean, he can play any golf tournament he wants to. Why he chose the Sanderson Farms is beyond me, especially after, I mean, he was over in Asia at the CIMB Classic a couple weeks ago. So that's odd, especially, I mean, there's not a whole lot of money in this. I think the winner gets about $770,000, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but in PGA Tour standards, it's not that great. Another guy, too, Tyler Duncan, right at 8,100. I kept getting him confused with Tim Duncan at the Safeway Open. I thought Tim Duncan somehow magically found a golf game and was starting to play golf. But Tyler Duncan, 5th, 12th, 5th in his last 3 events. So he's coming in pretty hot. He'll probably be a little bit more popular, but at 8,100, I think that's a pretty good price. You know, one thing that I would look at doing this week if I'm playing, whether it's a GPP or even a cash game, is balance. I would stick with balance. Try to get, you know, just 100% think about getting guys through the cut. So, you know, if I weight, you know, course history more or recent form more or whatever, however you feel, you know, most comfortable about your cut makers, that's what I would really super concentrate on for this. And just try to get 6 through the cut. Because if you get 6 through the cut, you're probably going to have a pretty good chance to win some, well, I would say okay money, but DraftKings doesn't want us to win even okay money.
Yeah, the tournaments are worse than the Euro Tour. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But yeah, I like the balance idea. I'd start with like Streelman up top and then just drop into the 8s. And then you got some guys in the 7s. We talked earlier about the defending champion that's there that I loved at Safeway, and I love him here. Give me some 7s and some 6s, and I'll give you some of mine.
Yeah, Corey Connors, 7,700. He did finish 30th and made the cut at the Safeway Open, so he's quote-unquote safe to me in this one. Keith Mitchell, we talked about him back at the Safeway, and he didn't really do that well. He missed the cut, but he'd been playing really, really, really well before that, and I would maybe consider that as just kind of a first PGA Tour event, you know, kind of getting feet wet and a little bit starstruck or whatever, and in awe and just freaking out kind of deal. And looking on down this list, it is kindly ugly. Let's see. Cameron Percy would be interesting. Andrew Putnam, $7,400. I would take a look at. Weird names, man. Who else you got?
Yeah, no, it's like I wrote down so many that obviously I have to narrow down, and I'm not going to name them all now, but they're like I like the fact you mentioned Keith Mitchell because you said it's a bomber's course. It's one that you can play safe and play for birdies and be fine. But if you want to bomb it, you're going to set up so many eagle chances on this course that a guy like Keith Mitchell could get right here. This is a course he could get right. I don't mind Garrigus at 7,600. He's this past year. He's been very up and down, but when he's been up, it's been at small events like this. This is what he's played very, very well at. He's not going to be worried about the pressure like some of these youngsters trying to get a name for themselves. So Garrigus, I like. Malnati, he's a former champ at 7,300. Like him a ton coming off the web. And then he's kind of like Jaeger at 7K. I don't mind him at all. Ben Crane at 72. I think that's too cheap for Ben Crane. He's really, really good. He's played well this year on the web and his PGA events, played well at the Safeway. So Crane at 72. There's some others in the 7s if you want. In the 6s, I don't mind Gooch at 6,900. He played really well of late. A tilting guy like JT Poston or Trey Molinex. We know Molinex is so much better than 6,800. He's just played really, really bad the last month.
Yeah. And
that's just – the one thing I noticed about these pricings is it's like DraftKings took current form into play on a lot of these prices. And Molinex got the hit there. Like Fathwar at 68, Ken Duke at 66, Pride at 66. Not flashy names, but if you want cut makers, Duke and Pride are right there for you, dirt cheap. That's then true. Like a Fathwar and a Molinex and a Poston, they could end up being in the top 10 no problem by the end of the week.
Yeah. Another guy at 7,100 I was just looking at here too, Benjamin Silverman. He made the cut the Safeway Open and played some really consistent golf on the web.com for basically all of last year. So he's another guy who should be super low owned, 7,100. So yeah, I mean it's a crapshoot. I mean if you look at the names who have won this, like last year Cody Gribble won, and just out of nowhere. I mean, you got Peter Malnati. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything if somebody wins this as far as like catapulting their career into stardom. Bill Haas is a previous winner here back in 2010, but it's just, I don't know. I'll play because I like the cut aspect. I mean, that's one of the worst parts about these no cut events is Friday is not as fun.
Yeah, I want Cut Sweats will be back this week.
Right.
He's back.
Cut Sweats back. I don't know, man. He may not mess with it. We'll see.
But the one reason why I love it, A, because it's a cut event. B, a lot of these names, like, they're not household names, but for guys like you, me, and a bunch of others that love golf, like, there's a lot of good golfers here. They're just not. So I kind of want to see how they turn out. And for a lot of these guys, almost all of them, a win here gets them exempt, even though it's not a big event. So it's sneaky in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, something else to consider too is, just at least keeping an eye on this golf tournament if you're planning on playing more into the fall swing here, because these guys will be popping back up again. So, if in order for me to pay attention, I got to play it. So I'm going to play it.
Yeah,
not super heavy, but I'm going to play it.
Well, that's the biggest thing is a lot of these names, we kind of mentioned them at the Safeway, like the low sevens. Well, these guys are going to be big in the fall swing. So I totally agree with that. All right. Well, that'll do it for the week unless you have any final words.
I don't, other than, if you're playing the no-cut event, the WGC, leave money on the table, differentiate your lineups down low, typical stuff. Other than that, man, I can't wait. I can't wait until we get back to normal PGA Tour events.
And it's coming real soon. So we'll get that in. And, on the no-cut event, I've been doing a lot of single entry and 3 max, and those have been a lot more friendly than the ones I dabble in. I do most of my stuff in those lately. It's been a lot better than the alternative. So something to think about there. But with that being said, that'll wrap us up. We got your WGC HSBC Championship preview and Sanderson Farms. You get a double dip today from me and Jesse. Remember, you can find Jesse on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. I am at BDentric, and follow the podcast at Always Press DFS. Until next time, we'll catch you guys next week.